Good evening, YouTube. I'm your host, Jacqueline A Cousins Oliva, and I'm back to read another chapter called Lost in Paris by Sydney Collingham. And we're now on chapter 6. Now, as I begin reading this fine chapter here, I waited for Bridget on the sidewalk walk. Suddenly I heard a really loud rumble. A contraption that drove up into the boulevard to pick me up was an unbelievable sight. I blinked, but it was still here. It was a white minivan covered in black paw prints, like a gang of cats and dogs had stepped in a back paint and run all over it. That's funny. Stuck in the front was a basketball, colored and looked like a pink cat nose, with a wire whiskers sticking out the sides on the roof, with two pointy ears, and a van stopped in front of the hotel and actually barked. Yes, barked. I had a whole lot new appreciation for my mom's old minivan. I hustled into the passenger seat, buried my head into my hands to the Louvre, I said. To the Louvre, I said. You figured it out, Bridget asked. She checked her seatbelt and adjusted her rearview mirror like this. Then on her side mirror. Yes, come on, we gotta go. Beef left in a hurry. Beef? Bridget asked. Sorry, I meant to say Madame Lebel. Ha! None. I like beef better, Bridget says. Okay, here we go. She adjusted the side mirror again, put on her directional blinker, and rolled down her window to point at the road where she was easing out onto. I looked at the car around us. You look all clear. I said hints to speed up. I said as a hints to speed up. To the Louvre, she says. But she didn't drive any faster. She did not realize what was at stake. She continued at a pace for a turtle, with three broken legs all the way to the parking spot near the Louvre. We dashed out. Bridget managed to run faster than she drove. Through 3 giant acres, I caught my first glimpse at the great grass pyramid of, wait for it, the Louvre again. Even though I was in a hurry, I had to stop for for just a second for a huge country for a huge courtyard for a huge wait just for a second in a huge courtyard to marvel at where I was standing. The pyramid was framed at 3 sides at a breathtaking building. It was like a palace, I said to Bridget. Was in a palace of 100 years until Louis XIV moved into the king's home of Versailles. Now, now I'm gonna stop right there because I know what she's talking about. This palace, Versailles, that's where Queen Marie Antoinette used to live, and her husband, Prince Louis, until they had to move away because of the riot around the castle, and then years later they were somehow dead. They somehow got executed because they were committing some kind of treason. Okay, so as I continue, So I'm gonna continue reading this chapter. For Sal, I didn't expect them to mention this castle. Then it becomes the place to keep the royal art collection. As kings grew in the art collection of the the building size grew too, Bridget says. I looked at her with surprise at this history lesson because she seems to know nothing when she looked at the first clue. What? She said. I'm French, of course. I knew about the Louvre. Well, it's amazing. Masterpiece, she says. It's a large, almost magnificent. It is. I want to stay longer. I could have spent the entire week in one spot. But we had to move quickly. We made our way to the tick, tickering, ticketing lines and were immediately sucked into the crowds of tourists and what looked like the other shock value hunters. Mon Mon, what does this say? Let me look. Guys, let me look it up. I want to look it up on translators. Hold on, you guys. She means my God.
Mon Dieu.
Mon Dieu. It means my God. So Bridget says, Mon Dieu. Bridget says, this line will take all day. Isn't there a shortcut? It looks like Beef have already found one. She craned her neck to indicate Beef riding on the back of the wheelchair to a spot where people needed extra assistance. Didn't have to wait in line. The nurse lady whose backpack has been replaced with Beef's fanny pack, held in a clipboard and ran to keep up with the speeding chair. Beef seems to do this have do this all out. Have thought this all out. What are we gonna do? I asked. I have an idea on my own. Bridget struck me as a person who followed the rules exactly as I was skeptical. You do? She reached into her back pocket and pulled out a little back book. It says addresses on it. What's that? I asked. It is a list of clients for Boutique Bridget. Poor list. Let me look this one up. Because I'm having a hard time pronouncing words. That's French for small animals.
Pour les petits animaux.
That's French for small animals. How is it? How is that going to help? How is that going to help? People love their pets. Sure, they love people who take care of their pets. Okay, and they're willing to help them. All right. One of them works here, Bridget says. Now, I caught on that little black book was like a list of secret helpers. I didn't know how many clients Bridget has but I hope she had one who could help with us with every clue. That was something Beef didn't have Bridget dialed didn't have. Bridget down her phone. Bonjour, Monsieur Wilmot, says Bridget, she says. She explained that we're on a hunt for shock value tickets and we need to beat the crowd to the clue. Monsieur Wilmot must have interrupted her because she suddenly stopped talking and listened. Her expression was serious like it was good it was her expression was serious like it wasn't good news. But then she grinned. Mercy, mercy. Beautiful. Mercy, I know mercy is thank you.
beaucoup,
Beaucoup. Mercy, mercy, beaucoup. She hung up. We're in. We are? How? Follow me. We need to make a little. How do you say delivery? Delivery? I followed Bridget back into the Petmobile. We didn't have time to make a delivery. She threw open the back door and tossed an empty brown cardboard box out. She scribbled out the label. She scribbled out the label that says shampoo and porcelain and wrote address for Levere and added attention, M. Lemont. Then she climbed in the back of the van and took out two black lab coats. They were covered in pet fur. This was the closest thing we had to a delivery uniform. This is the closest thing we have to a delivery uniform. Then she put a basketball hat on each of our heads. There was no way this was going to pass a delivery company uniform, she says. Make a business face like this. Then she pursed her smile down, squint her eyes a bit, and forced wrinkles onto her forehead. Then, in a lower voice, says, delivery for... She glanced at the box. Monsieur Wilmot. When she was done with the little target, she laughed with a snort. She was actually a pretty good actress. But I didn't believe the act would work, especially if she let a snort slip out. She closed off the Petmobile and ran ahead of the empty box. What will you say shock value when you meet them? What will you say to shock value when you meet them? I hadn't had time to think about it. What would I say? Before I could answer, we were at the door that says Leverison. Leverison. I knew that meant delivery. Bridget pushed the button. The security guard answered the door. She wasn't going to fool this guy. She looked at the box, glanced up at the security camera. That would that probably made sure no one other than the real delivery people came to the door and asked for Leverison. Bridget nodded. She winkled. She moved aside and let us pass. We were in. The security man looked at the box and directed us down to a corridor with another wink. Maybe he could tell I was American, but he directed us in English. Go that way and turn right. Okay. So this one guy speak English. Bridget gave him a tiny hug and said, "Mercy, Monsieur Wilmot." We raced down a small hall and turned right. He said, when we emerged into the museum, we were among a smaller crowd heading up the stairs to admire the famous statue of Francis de Mille. "You cannot make me laugh nor cry. If you touch me, you will find that I am cold. I cannot embrace anyone to get warm. People travel far and wide to see me, and despite of my flaws, they awed by my beauty. Francis de Mille can't embrace anyone because she didn't have arms." David broken off and lost somewhere in time. Clearly the guitarist in the knit cap wasn't the only one who knew the answer, 'cause a bunch of what have other fans crowd around a girl wearing royal blue shockwave shirt, shock value shirt. But I just stared at the statue. She was so pretty, chiseled perfectly from marble. Yet she looked like she'd be soft if I touch her. She had been sculpted in the likeness of Aphrodite, the Greek goddess of love and beauty. Now we all know who Aphrodite is. I seen the character Aphrodite on Hercules. We all know who this lady is. And she really was beautiful. I snapped back at the contest and realized the girl in the shock value shirt was explaining the next part. The first 10 teams gets the next clue. Go stand on a number on the floor and set around the rubber pad, each with a number. I wonder what that means. 1 through 10. The space number 1 through 4 were occupied. I jumped for number 5 only to be beat by a girl who had pierced everywhere on her face. I didn't want to mess with her, so I stepped to number 6. The tip for my new sneakers squished as it was ran over by a speeding wheelchair. "Ow!" I yelped. "Too slow," said Beef. "I was here first," I said. Beef, Professor Camponi, and a nurse lady squarely occupied space number 6. I suppressed the urge to clobber them like I would if Charlie blocked the last piece of pizza for me. But Bridget calmly pulled my fur lab coat to space number 7. All 10 people get a clue," she said. "Space number 7 is okay." I was It was the principal, I said. "She was pushy and bossy, and I don't like her." Once all 10 spaces were filled, the shock value representative handed each team a small royal blue gift bag. "Welcome to the contest," she said. "You are 10 teams competing for the 3 front row seats." And paused to shock value special one night engagement in Paris this Friday. You'll get to see all the backstage action during the concert and maybe catch a glimpse at Winston, Glenn, and Alec themselves. Glimpse? I want more than a glimpse. I want to meet the band. A shock value representative will meet you to meet you at each clue's location to give you the next bag. First team to success fully the follow all the clues and make it to the end of the trail will get the epic treasure. Everyone on the team clap. So continue. So good luck. The next clue is in the bag. Make sure you give me your name and your cell phone number. You can take the bag and go. Everyone opened their bags except Beef, who tossed the business card to shock value rep and fired up the chair. Hopped on the back and whistled away for the beautiful fetus to build. Now this was weird. From a delivery to racing for the seats, racing for the first 10 seats. Y'all let me know how you liked the chapter that I read. Was it that crazy? I'll be back with another chapter. Love you all and good night.